My name is Mark Shaw. I graduated from high school in 2002 from Bedford High School. So that was about 10 years ago. Bedford is in southeast Michigan. I've done college on and off since then. I'm 28 now and still don't have a degree. And I work as a photo assistant. So the question at hand is, how did my K through 12 education prepare me for life? I have a hard time answering this question because I don't know what K through 12 education was supposed to do. I don't know what I was supposed to have learned while I was there. So I don't really know how to say if I did or didn't. But what I can do is tell you about my experiences, and I can tell you where I'm at right now. And maybe that'll get you close enough. I remember enjoying school mostly up until about 5th grade. I remember it seemed to work for me for the most part. I was smart and intelligent. I got along well with just about everyone because I'm a social person. I was interested in a lot of the subjects. I had teachers who either cared or had enough going on that I could keep myself occupied. And then I went to junior high and everything changed. The system was set up to herd us more so from subject to subject to subject. And they took away recess, which I hated. And it seemed like things got a lot more boring, which is basically what happened. If I could describe high school and junior high in one word, it would be either boring or easy. I wasn't engaged by anything really that happened in junior high and high school. And I definitely wasn't made to work for anything because it was all really easy. I graduated with a 3.3 with a 32 on my ACT, which should explain a lot to you. It means that I'm pretty intelligent. I know how to take a test, but I'm kind of a slacker. I got decent grades in high school. Mostly A minuses and B pluses, roughly. Except for one class, I took one semester of advanced geometry when I was a freshman. Except for that one semester. Every other semester, I got exactly the grade that I deserved, or higher than I deserved. And anytime I got a grade that was lower than, what was considered excellent, it was all because I didn't turn in work. It wasn't because I did bad on tests. It wasn't because I didn't understand anything. It was because I was lazy. I remember sitting in class every single day of any of my English classes and wishing that I could do anything else. I would have gone through a lot of different forms of torture as an alternative to sitting through those classes because they were so arduous. We didn't seem to learn much. And we learned very little at a very slow pace, and it drove me bonkers. I don't remember listening to any of the lectures. I would sit and read either the work for that class, I would do the homework for that class while the teacher was talking. I would do homework for other classes. I would read other books that had nothing to do with anything. I would do anything but pay attention because I didn't need to. Nothing was difficult enough to require me to learn. I just had to memorize the right answers, know when to give them out, and I knew how to take a test. I learned that trick, that skill, because, don't be fooled. Taking tests is a skill and nothing else. I knew how to game a test so that even if I didn't know the material, even if I hadn't studied, even if I showed up to my math part of my ACT without a calculator, I could fake my way through it. So that was one of the big life skills that I learned in junior high and high school, was how to be lazy and still get decent grades. That was mostly of my junior high and high school career. I remember being confused about why we were learning things because no one ever bothered to explain to us why it was important. We were just supposed to believe them, which really doesn't work for most people, and it definitely didn't work for me. All of the experiments were abstract in a way that didn't make sense. If we're going to do story problems in math, why not do problems that we actually might come into contact with? why not talk about things that we deal with at this moment so that I can see the connection between the two? Didn't really have any of that. Most of my teachers were not very passionate. I think a lot of them had been doing this a while and had had most of the life taken out of them, both by students and administrators and parents and other teachers, and just the general, the stuff of life gets to you sometimes. But I don't remember having very many inspired teachers. I kept hoping to walk into, Robin Williams, and we were going to stand on our desks and recite poetry, and that never happened. And I'm really sad, because I think that would have been awesome. I guess if you could ask me if I could go back and do it again, what would I do differently? And what I would do differently is I wouldn't show up, because most of it was a waste. It really, really, really was. I don't think I learned much of anything in high school. Some things in junior high, but still not a whole lot. Or very little that I learned from someone. I could have easily learned most of what I learned in high school on my own, a couple hours at home with a book, which I think is terrible. Like that shouldn't be the answer. That shouldn't be how it works, right? So today, what does my life look like today, and why is it school's fault? Or why is it? I'm not sure. There are definitely some things that I don't feel prepared with. I think I got a lot of how to work with people, specifically those who are in authority to you. I really have a good understanding of how to navigate being the subordinate, because I spent all of high school being the subordinate like all students. And I knew how to work that, I knew how to say things to get my teachers to like me, to trust me, to believe that I was working hard even if I wasn't. But there's still a lot of things that I don't know how to do that, yes, I could have picked up on my own since then, certainly. But I still feel like I should have learned. Like, why don't I know how to balance a budget properly? Shouldn't we have covered that in high school? Shouldn't that be like something we do all the time? Because all of us are going to have to do that for the rest of our lives. Not all of us are going to use all of the math that we learned, but all of us are going to have to manage our own money. So why is that not something that we spend maybe a little more time on? But some of the biggest things are more conceptual. Like, I was not taught to persevere in high school because I didn't have to. Everything that I turned in was adequate, and no one questioned me. No one said, "Hey, Mark, I know that this is technically an A paper, but I get the feeling that you wrote it last night once, and maybe you spell checked it and that was it, then you turned it in." And if they would have said that, which would have been true, I would have been like, "Oh, okay, well, let's try that again." But I didn't have to push myself because no one asked me to. Every mediocre thing that I did was considered at least all right, if not better than most. Because even my crappy paper, technically, that I turned in, that I didn't proofread, was still twice as good as everyone else's in the class because I kind of understood writing and they didn't. And I think for a long time that I blamed that on the students, especially at the time. I thought of them as just idiots. But now I'm realizing that that's not the case at all. They just weren't, their hidden potential wasn't uncovered. And I think that our school system should have spent more time searching for what was special about them, or me, and they didn't. They just took what was on the surface. They were lazy, just like me. So yeah, I don't know. Probably could have been better. Thanks.